Sometimes a kung fu movie is formulaic and has all the usual tropes. A young man who wants to learn kung fu, the unassuming old guy who becomes his teacher, the bad guy and his henchman, the secret fist that wins in the end, and so on, and so on, and so on. And at some point, the movie can just become tedious, boring, and unwatchable. But not this time. The review for Crystal Fist up next on Lone Wolf and Cub. Let's go! Crystal Fist, also known as J-Claw, is a 1979 Eternal Film Hong Kong production starring the oh-so-popular Billy Chong, aka Willie Dozon. In this familiar take on Drunken Master, Chong stars as Ah Wen, a young man on a quest to learn Kung Fu. After conning his way into a Kung Fu school and gaining a job as the kitchen help, Ah Wen makes the acquaintance of a cook, played by Simon Yoon in a similar role to that of Sam Seed. After some slapstick shenanigans, mischief, and pranks, Ah Wen and the cook settle into their roles of who's the boss in the kitchen, and trust me, it's not Ah Wen. Now, on the other side of town, we are introduced to two men who are ferociously fighting each other. And it's not long before we discover that these two men, one blind and one deaf, are actually allies that serve the same master, Yen. Master Yen and his henchmen were beaten in a fight years before at the hands of the cook and his student Chen Quan. The three, hell-bent on revenge, have been scouring the countryside for years in search of the cook, as they have already killed Chen Quan, who, you guessed it, is the father of Ah Wen. Speaking of Ah Wen, he has discovered that the cook is highly skilled in Kung Fu and somehow manages to convince the cook to secretly take him on as a pupil. Ah Wen begins his basic training and even begins to emulate some of the cook's Eagle Claw moves. One night, while out to dinner with the teacher of the Kung Fu school, Ah Wen and some attendees are insulted by a Russian dinner guest who claims that Chinese Kung Fu is for show. After bullying a waiter, Ah Wen decides to teach the Russian boxer a lesson. Though his skills are mid, Ah Wen is more than a match for the Russian visitor. Unbeknownst to Ah Wen, Master Yen happens to be passing by when he sees the young student using an Eagle Claw technique and stance, which he immediately recognizes as belonging to the cook. This was the style the cook used to defeat him years before. After dinner, Yen approaches Ah Wen and engages him in a fight, which he loses, and then proceeds to ask him where his teacher is. Ah Wen refuses to talk and evades Master Yen, or so he thinks. He winds up in even hotter water as he walks into a secondary trap with Master Yen's henchmen, blind and deaf. The three eventually beat Ah Wen to a pulp, burn one of his hands, and smashes his jade pendant, a memento that belonged to his father. Master Yen allows Ah Wen to leave in hopes that he will lead them to the cook, but he manages to evade his tail. When the cook, whose real name is Chang, finds Ah Wen, he nurses him back to health and vows to teach him his full technique, as he realizes that Ah Wen is the student of his former pupil, Chen Quan, thanks to the smashed jade pendant in his possession. We are then treated to a training montage that allows Billy Chong to shine. His character Ah Wen becomes proficient in the Eagle's Claw, and as his skill progresses, we are treated to a bunch of scuffles, including one with a rich bully, Ah Wen's former tormentors at the Kung Fu school, and a major showdown with blind and deaf. But not before Chang the cook teaches Ah Wen his secret techniques, the Shadow Claw and Shadow Fist, counters to Master Yen's Phoenix Eye Fist. We are given one more fantastic training montage, and this form deserves some shine. Let's watch!
The heart is the general, the eyes are the scouts, the fists are the arrows, the body is the bow.
As the montage ends, so does Ah Wen's relationship with his teacher, because he just disappears, never to be seen again. This leaves Ah Wen with nothing left to do except exact his revenge on Master Yen, who seems to have graduated from murder to arson. What the hell? When Ah Wen catches up to Master Yen, they give us a finale for the ages, a variable back and forth between the two combatants and their secret techniques, and I'm here for it, so let's talk about it. The pros. Crystal Fist is a paint-by-numbers kung fu flick with all of the tropes of an early Jackie Chan movie, which means it has plenty of comedy early on and turns more serious later. This is not necessarily a bad thing, provided it's in good hands. It's all in the execution of those tropes that makes this movie stand out. I thought that the cast was pretty strong. Chu Tit Wo was solid as Master Yin when he was on screen, and I loved the way Blind and Deaf played off of each other. The cameo from Hao Chu Sing in the beginning and the middle was a welcome addition and helped tie the characters together. The fight choreography is pretty good. It was nice to see two opposing styles face off against each other. I think that Billy Chong's expression and performance of the Eagle Claw is a welcome representation that distinguishes itself from what we normally see in other Eagle's Claw films. In addition to his form, I think Chong's look adds to the potency of the technique, particularly his eyebrows. Call me weird, but there's something very eagle-like in that gaze. The movie does a good job of speaking to the social narrative that was prevalent in the 20th century. This notion that Chinese people and Chinese culture are weak and thus the victims of bully tactics from Japan, the US, and Russia. Even if this was unintentional, and I doubt that it was, the Russian still got what he deserved, and I loved it. The cons. Besides a few editing issues, I don't have many complaints, but there is one thing that is bothering me. Why did the cook leave? I know he said he wanted to be on his own, but it seems pretty awful to leave Arwen to face the bad guys on his own and screaming his head off. Teacher! I did not like that. One last thing, but this is a minor quip. I don't like movies where the title does not directly tie into the film. In this case, Crystal Fist or Jade Claw. You have to draw inference from the story relating to the pendant belonging to Arwen's father and not some kung fu technique that is embedded in the story. Don't like that either. Overall, I think that Crystal Fist, aka Jade Claw, is a decent Jackie Chan clone and is worthy of a look-see. It has a relatively charming protagonist and some decent supporting characters. The fight choreography is dope, and I would definitely recommend this for a Saturday afternoon. So I'm giving it a solid 7.5 kicks. Well, that's all for now. Tell us how you feel about Crystal Fist. Is it a diamond in the rough? I know. No more dad jokes, I promise. But anyway, comment below and let us know. We'd love to hear from you. So until next time, this is OG Ant signing off. And remember, the heart is the general, the eyes are the scouts, the fists are the arrows, and the body is the bow. Peace.